Hey, I'm over at douglashamp.com. Today we're looking at the question of the sign on Jesus' cross. Is there a hidden acrostic there? In other words, does the word Yud He Vav He, that is Yehovah or Yahweh, does that actually appear on Jesus' cross? That is a claim that has been floating around for quite a while. It's been suggested that the reason the Jewish leaders were so upset with Pilate reading regarding the sign of Jesus, the cross of Jesus, was due to the acrostic that the word spelled in Hebrew. That is, the first letter of each word, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews, John 19:19, actually spelled Yud He Vav He, which, if true, would obviously be an affront to the pious leaders of the day. So that's the theory. And a lot of people have suggested that. A lot of notable teachers have taught that. And it sounds great. It preaches wonderful. But is it true? Well, let's take a look. For the above claim to be true, the Hebrew would have needed to be Yeshua HaNotzri. Uh, then we have the W. Then we have Melech HaYehudim, Jesus of Nazareth, and King of the Jews. Now, I've actually capitalized what the transliterated letters would have needed to be to get Yehovah. The problem is that the letter Vav, represented by the W, is not reflected in the Greek text of the Gospels. Hence, the above reconstruction is unsound and is doubtful and is nothing more than a reconstruction. If we had the original Hebrew, that would be a moot point, of course, but unfortunately, we don't have access to that. Below is the complete list of scriptural passages regarding the sign on the cross. If the letters Yud He Vav He, that's the YHWH there, truly did appear on the cross as the reconstruction indicates, as people and these popular teachers are suggesting, then we should clearly see this in the Greek text. Now, let me just say this. I do believe that Jesus is God incarnate. He's God in the flesh. All right, so I'm not taking away from that. All I'm suggesting is that we shouldn't add to the text and we shouldn't take away from the text. And if his cross didn't actually say that, then let's not start making it say that. If it did say that, great, that's awesome. But we're just looking at the evidence. We're trying to be good scientists and take a look at what does the evidence actually show us. We need to be good scholars and also good detectives when we come to the Bible. There's a lot of stuff that is floating around not only on the internet, Facebook, YouTube, but there's some stuff that's actually printed in books, okay, and some of them even peer reviewed books, and it doesn't hold water because there's no evidence for it. So we have to be careful what we say as being factually true. Sometimes you can say, well, I think, and that's fine if you want to share your opinion, but don't say that it's the absolute truth. So let's take a look at these passages, and if it shows up, great. If it doesn't, then that's fine. So the Hebrew affix W, which is a vav, which means and, corresponds to the Greek word kai. So for the claim to be true, we should definitely see the word kai between the word Nazareth and the words the king. If we don't see this, then the theory falls apart. Okay, so again, Yud He Vav He, the Vav, the W, is the letter and. Okay, it means and. And again, the theory goes that this title, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, that it was actually forming an acrostic to mean Yehovah, and that's why the Jews were so offended because of what Pilate had written on the top of Jesus' cross. But let's take a look at the evidence. If we don't see the word Kai in there, which is the word Vav, which is the W, then it doesn't fit, and we're not going to have an acrostic. So let's take a look here. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, John 19:19, which is Jesus ha Nazoraios o Basileos ton Judaion. So while the text of John is the most promising of the four, the underlying Hebrew would most naturally be rendered as Yeshua HaNotzri Melech HaYehudim, thus becoming an acrostic Yud He Mem He, or YHMH, which doesn't mean anything. It means absolutely nothing. As a note, we would not see the definite article in front of melech, king, in the Hebrew, even though it is there in Greek due to the difference in Hebrew grammar. In the Hebrew, the definite article on Yehudim, the ha, is adequate to make melech definite as well. And it should not be overlooked, however, that in the Bible and Jewish literature, a common way to write Yud He Vav He was to just abbreviate it by writing Yah, so YH. So seemingly, perhaps the Jewish leaders were not so much seeing Yud He Vav He, but just Yud He. This theory could work if it were not for their very complaint of a few verses later. Then the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews," but he said, "I am the King of the Jews." John 19:21. Notice they didn't ask Pilate to change the YH, Yeshua HaNotzri, but specifically asked that the claim of kingship be removed, and so the first two letters of the supposed acrostic were in no way an issue for them. Now in Matthew 27:37 we have, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews," which in Greek is "Utos estin Jesus o Basileus ton Judaion." So Matthew provides little information, yielding a translation of Ze Yeshua Melech HaYehudim, or ZYMH, or Zion Yud Mem He, which again doesn't mean anything. All right, so they couldn't be offended from the text of John or from the text of Matthew. Let's take a look at Luke. Luke 23:38. "This is the King of the Jews. Utos estino Basileus ton Judaion." So Luke gives even less information and a little less than Matthew's Ze Melech HaYehudim, or ZMH, again meaning nothing. So that'd be Zion Mem He, doesn't mean anything. And then lastly we have Mark 15:26, "the King of the Jews, O Basileus ton Judaion." And Mark records the most truncated of the four, Melech HaYehudim, or MH Mem He, meaning nothing, okay? Or it means ma, what, right? So really, in conclusion, in none of the texts above do we see the word Kai, which if the acrostic Yud He Vav He had been written in Hebrew, would have appeared in the Greek. If it appeared in at least one of the texts, then we might conclude that it really was there. However, since we don't see it in any of the texts, which are only records of what was or was not on that sign, we must conclude that the acrostic Yud He Vav He was just not on the cross. So it's best to be silent where the Bible is silent, and regardless, however, of what is spelled out, the reason that Jewish leaders were angry was not because the writing somehow spelled out Yud He Vav He, but because it said that he was the King of the Jews, an obvious declaration of messiahship, which they plainly rejected. So it's very simple. We don't want to continue to teach that as that his name that was Yud He Vav He that was written up on there on the cross. It's a really fun teaching. Man, it teaches well, it preaches well. People could say amen to that, but it's just not there. So we shouldn't say amen to that because it's not in the text. And if something is not in the text, let's not add to the text. God is not keen on us adding to his text or taking away from his text. Let's just let the text be the text. And let's just take the plain text as what we actually have. Check that out at douglashamp.com. You can see the URL right there. This is from the book Discovering the Language of Jesus. You can pick that up at YouTube, not on YouTube, but you can pick that up on Amazon or on my website, douglashamp.com/store, and you can see what that book is all about. It's a lot of fun, a lot of great evidence in there concerning the fact that Jesus spoke Hebrew, and we don't have any evidence for Aramaic. I'm sure he probably knew it because he was God, but as far as linguistic evidence, biblical evidence, historical evidence that he or his disciples were speaking Aramaic, it's just not there. But it's not so much that they weren't speaking Aramaic, it's that they were speaking Hebrew. Why is that important? Because it shows that there's a connection between Jesus and his people. There's no break between the Old Testament and the New Testament, right? The Hebrew Bible and the New Testament Gospels and all that stuff. It's all the same story. It's the same people, same language, in fact. So check that out. Till next time, God bless you.